Steve Robbins here, and welcome to the Get It Done Guys quick and dirty tips to work less and do more. Books. I just love books. Actually, I do. I really love books. For years, when someone said, "Stever, there's this great book you have to read," I dropped everything, ran to the bookstore, and bought it. On my way home, I'd pass a stranger who would see me with my new book. They'd say, "If you like that book, you'll love this other book." I'd turn around, run back to the store, and buy the other book too. On my way home, if the stranger looked ready to recommend a third book, I'd look them straight in the eye and say, "Excuse me, can you spare some change? I just spent my last dime on a book." They'd usually back off pretty quickly. Once home, my two new acquaintances would go lovingly at the end of my backlog, a backlog that would be empty sometime in the mid-22nd century if I kept on adding to it at my current pace. And by the way, my sincere intention was to read these books, to learn, to use the knowledge. It wasn't just about being able to say, "My book backlog is bigger than yours," although that does feel kind of nice. So I found a better way to deal with books. Come join me in my quest to read with these 5 quick and dirty tips. Tip number 1 is create a books to read list. When someone suggests a book to you, don't run right out and buy it, and don't go straight to your favorite online bookseller either. Instead, create a books to read list and add their recommendations to the list. This introduces a little delay in the process. You may also want to note who gave you the recommendation. That way you can punish them later if they have bad taste. When you want to buy a new book, scan your books to read list. I mean, scan it with your eyes. Don't scan it into your computer. Scan it with your eyes, and you'll find that once the heat of the moment has passed, you can be more thoughtful about what you want to read. You'll also see the recommendations side by side with the other books you're thinking of reading. While it seemed like a great idea when you wrote it down, the 20th century's favorite lollipop flavors suddenly seems much less urgent when you consider it next to Get It Done Guys 9 Steps to Work Less and Do More. Wasn't that subtle? Tip number 2, only buy books you'll read in the next week. Since you're accumulating books into your list, you don't need to buy the actual book until you're ready to read it. See, this is where I fall off the wagon. Sometimes I buy books just to make sure it'll be there when I'm ready. And I end up with 20 books on my shelf waiting to be read. Do as I say, not as I do. If you won't read a book in the next 7 days, don't buy it yet. Now that we've invented cars and we can drive quickly to bookstores, you can wait until you're almost done with your current book before starting the next one. Tip number 3, read one book at a time. This one's hard, I know. It's tempting to buy every book that sounds interesting and start reading them all at once. But then you risk not finishing, and you miss the special offer on page 297. Oh, if only you'd read that far, you could have won your very own pony. A live one this time. But you'll never get to page 297 if you stop reading at page 53 because you got distracted by another book. Read one book. When you're done, read another. Now, you can modify this a bit by having 2 books going at once, as long as they're different styles, so you can switch off when you're in different moods. The 2 styles that work best for me are pure escapist fiction, Harry Potter, yay, and deep, substantive nonfiction, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. When I'm in the mood for wizards who can change the universe by waving a wand, I read Rowling. When I'm in the mood for scientists who can understand the universe by waving an eraser, I read Hawking. Tip number 4, take notes with your smartphone. In each book, use a piece of paper folded in half as a bookmark. As you read, jot down the important ideas and thoughts on that piece of paper. The mere act of jotting it down will help you remember and understand the material better. If you use a Kindle or some other electronic reading device, you're on your own here. But frankly, writing stuff down physically does help the memory. Once I've finished a book, I'll type my idea paper into the memo pad on my computer and then synchronize it with my iPod Touch or my BlackBerry. Then, when someone at a cocktail party says something that reminds me of the book, I can look it up, review the content, and then impress everyone around with my unbelievable brilliance and awesomely geeky habit of typing in book summaries. I use a Mac program called Notational Velocity to type in my notes, and it synchronizes to the web and to my iPod Touch using the website simplenoteapp.com. Links to both of these are in this episode's transcript. Tip number 5 is keep a books I've already read list. Now that you're reading books, finishing them and summarizing them, start keeping a list of the books you've actually read. Since you'll be reading 15 books a day, naturally, you may actually forget what you've read. So when your Aunt Sadie proclaims, "You simply must buy Misconduct's latest book, Mind Over Manners," you check your books I've read list. "Why, Aunt Sadie," you'll proclaim, "I've already read that one." You quickly call up your book notes on your smartphone and bond with your aunt over the proper fork to use for the duck pate. So, in short, keep a books to read list. Don't buy physical books until you're ready to read them. Summarize and take notes on the page you use for bookmarks, and type the notes into your smartphone when you're done. Finally, keep a books I've read list, so when you're learning, you're actually retaining and learning something new. You can find this episode's transcript with links to the books and applications I've mentioned at getitdone.quickanddirtytips.com. This is Steve Robbins. I'm an executive advisor who helps entrepreneurs find strategic opportunities to help them grow. If you want to know more, visit steverobbins.com. Work less, do more, and have a great life.